Hello, I'm Kate Freeman, and this is the Daily Dollop. On this episode of the Daily Dollop, I'm going to take you through the key nutritional considerations that you need to know if you're growing a human life. Well, welcome back to the Daily Dollop. I hope you're having a fabulous day so far today. My name is Kate Freeman. I'm a registered nutritionist and the founder of the Healthy Eating Hub, and we are chatting nutrition for when you are up the duff and you are carrying a little one inside of you. For all of those who are pregnant or planning to be pregnant, this episode is for you. I have two kids, actually. They are big now, 10 and 12, and I birthed them both out of my vagina without drugs. Suffice to say, it was the most, magical, empowering, crazy experience of my life, which I never want to do again. I had very good birth experiences actually with both of my two kids, but yeah, I'm good now. I don't need to do that again. So for those of you who had poor birth experiences, you know what? It's a good thing that it's just this short period in our lives, right? Because now we have to parent them for, golly, such a long time. But while you're growing them inside your stomach, there are some key nutritional considerations from a health perspective. And a lot of the nutrition information around pregnancy is of what you shouldn't be eating. So there's of course, no alcohol, no soft cheeses, which is super sad, but that goes along with the alcohol. So those two things can just be set aside for later. We want to be mindful of foods that could spoil and, minimize our risk of food poisoning and things like that. But there's not a lot of talk about what you should be eating when you're pregnant. And I'm a huge believer in that good nutrition advice is just as much important as what you do eat as what you don't eat. And so what I want to talk through today is how to include more nutrition in your diet when you are pregnant. Some of the things, though, I want to talk about because I like talking about woo on this show. And, I haven't actually come across bad pregnancy nutrition advice on social media. I think the worst thing I've ever seen online is someone asking about the ketogenic diet and if it was suitable for someone who's breastfeeding, which is, obviously not being pregnant, but in the same time vicinity. And then the person answered and was like, yeah, you can go keto, but you just need to include grains and legumes and fruit, which makes it then not a keto diet. It then makes it probably closer to a healthy eating diet. But there isn't much woo out there, which is a really good thing. I'm pleased to say that. But I think what can happen is when we become pregnant, in particular, is that it can be a trigger of a major behavior change when it comes to food. And it can actually often trigger eating disorders, becoming pregnant. It can also trigger just disordered eating patterns. It can also trigger healthy eating patterns. So a lot of people find that the motivation to change their eating habits for the better increases with becoming pregnant, but it certainly can also trigger to become worse. I know for me, my experiences with pregnancy were awful. I would much rather actually give birth and stretch my vagina to this big than be pregnant because I was so sick when I was pregnant. I vomited all the time, morning and evening for nearly the whole 9 months with both of my pregnancies. I had major food aversions, like foods that I used to be able to eat that I couldn't eat. Food smelled weird. I had this horrible metallic taste in my mouth. And yeah, food became really difficult for me. And in fact, in my first pregnancy, I had such bad vomiting that I actually lost 7 kilos in the first trimester of my pregnancy. And I remember sitting in my doctor's office like sobbing, and I'm pale and thin and I'm so sick, and I'm like, I'm losing weight. And he's like, don't worry. He's like, women in Africa, can lose up to 20 kilos. They're on really bad diets and environment over there, and they still can give birth to healthy full-term children. Your body will prioritize nutrition for the baby. Like, you're going to suffer, but your baby will be fine. And that certainly was my experience after I gave birth to my daughter, in that I was quite depleted after I gave birth to her, very thin, lots of muscle loss, very low iron, etc. But she was a very healthy full-term baby. So don't stress too much. I mean, there's a number of things that can be really challenging when you become pregnant, particularly managing the nausea. But what I want to just call out with becoming pregnant and whatever that triggers for you is that pregnancy is not the time for weight loss. I'm just going to say that right now. I have met a lot of people who are overweight when they become pregnant, and all of a sudden they're like, oh man, I got to get my eating habits in check because I'm about to become a mum. And so they often are then like, oh, so they're trying to be super healthy or follow a particular diet. It's not the time. It's not the time to put you into an energy deficit at all, because pregnancy is a really highly demanding time on the body. And in fact, you actually need more nutrients, so vitamins and minerals in particular, but your energy needs don't actually change. So now you've got to get in more nutrition with the same amount of energy and food, which means that your food choices are more important than ever. And so when you think about your decisions to eat well, the goal of pregnancy nutrition is to provide nutrients for both you and the baby, and we want optimum lifelong health. And so we essentially are wanting outcomes like a healthy full-term baby. We want to achieve healthy weight gain during pregnancy, and this depends on what your weight was prior to getting pregnant. And we also want to achieve optimum nutrient stores to support breastfeeding and postpartum recovery as well. So think about, tackling weight loss after you've given birth and you've settled into motherhood for that baby. That will come. But any kind of healthy eating behavior or routine or habit that you establish that can maximize your nutrition during your pregnancy is going to help you lose weight long term. They'll be the same habits that will combine with other factors later on. So I want to talk about this concept of nutrient density. So nutrient density is nutritional bang for calorie buck. And a really good example of nutrient density is if we compare 100 calories of chocolate with 100 calories of strawberries. So if we were to just see those two things laid out on plates, 100 calories of chocolate is 4 squares, so 1 row of chocolate. Or it's a whole punnet of strawberries, if not more, depending on how big the punnet is. So it's quite a lot of strawberries. So from a volume perspective, the strawberries are going to fill us up for those 100 calories. But not only that, is that the strawberries have what we call dietary fiber, and they're going to have, with that punnet, around 5 to 6 grams of dietary fiber. So a really decent chunk, nearly, I can't do the maths in my head, but a really decent chunk of fiber towards your total fiber needs of around 25 to 30 grams. So 5 to 6 grams is really good. Whereas the chocolate has got no fiber in it at all. The strawberries are really rich in vitamin C, not very much vitamin C in the chocolate. We've got other phytonutrients, vitamins, minerals, etc. in those strawberries. Not going to find very much at all in the chocolate. So nutrient density is about maximizing the nutrients we get along with the energy that we get from food. So of course, choosing strawberries over chocolate means that we're going to get way more nutrition for the energy. And this is important in pregnancy because your energy needs actually stay the same for the first 2 trimesters of pregnancy. It's not until the 3rd trimester that your energy needs increase, And it's really only 300 to 400 calories at best, which is a ham and cheese sandwich. So not very much increase in food. And so what you need to think about now is that there are a number of nutrients that you actually need more of during pregnancy than when you're not pregnant. These nutrients are iron, calcium, zinc, iodine, vitamin D, folate, vitamin B12. So ensuring that we're getting these nutrient-dense foods into our diet regularly will help us meet the extra demand for these nutrients. The thing is, though, it's pretty difficult to eat when you're focusing on individual nutrients. And you can take obviously a supplement with those nutrients, and a lot of people who can afford that do that. But if you focus on foods and you focus on choosing whole, minimally processed foods as close to nature as possible, then you're actually naturally going to hit the nutrient density required for the majority of these nutrients. And unless there's a food group that you can't eat for allergies or intolerances, medicals, or other reasons, then eating from a wide variety of the food groups will really help cover all of the bases and ensure that you're getting the nutrients that you need. And so thinking about the food groups is really just focusing your efforts. Like if you're pregnant or thinking about getting pregnant, I would encourage you to simply be like, am I getting in all of the nutrient-dense foods that I need to give my body the best fighting chance to grow a healthy baby? So are you getting in 5 serves of vegetables every day? Why not just track it for a couple of days? Get curious, have a look and see how much you're actually eating. When I get my members in my online program to track their vegetable intake, most of them are shocked as to how little they're getting in because they think they're doing better than they really are. And then when they actually do get 5 serves in, they're like, wow, I'm so much fuller. I feel so good. I'm feeling satisfied. Their body's getting all of this great nutrition, etc. Veggies are vital. They are bursting with vitamins, minerals. They are really important. Are you getting in 2 serves of fruit? You're going to get good dietary fiber, again, some vitamins, some minerals, along with that, some good quality energy. Dairy is a great source of calcium to meet the increased calcium needs during pregnancy. If you can't have dairy or you choose not to have dairy, then you need a calcium fortified alternative. Generally, a plant-based milk is not a good alternative. The best alternative to dairy is a calcium fortified soy milk, but please do speak to an accredited practicing dietitian to individualize that, because there are a number of ways that you can get calcium into your diet without dairy, but it just needs to be well planned. You need to know how to do that. But if you can have dairy, it's absolutely fine and healthy and can help you meet those calcium needs. We then want to be getting in, between 3 to 6 serves a day of whole grains and or legumes. Depending on what you can eat and what you like eating, we want to get the benefit of getting all of the fiber from a minimally processed grain as opposed to a highly refined processed grain. So wholemeal breads, brown rice, wholemeal pasta, etc., beans, lentils, chickpeas, as opposed to cakes and biscuits and slices and pastries, which have that more refined carbohydrate there. Nuts and seeds, super nutritious, great source of fiber and healthy fats, particularly in your minerals like zinc, etc. Get those ones in. And then finally, if you're happy to include it, then on top of that nice plant-based foundation is add in some animal-based foods. So we've got some meat, some chicken, seafood. Choose those minimally processed sources and they're going to give you that iron, that B12 that you need during your pregnancy. I actually found that I went off meat early on in my pregnancy. It smelled so bad, lamb in particular. In fact, when I was pregnant with Asher, my first, we were at this barbecue and I didn't know I was pregnant and I was super grumpy, actually. I was hating on my husband. I just thought everything was his fault, but it was actually that I was pregnant. But someone was cooking lamb on the barbecue and I was like, that smells foul. Sure enough, 2 days later, pregnancy test, preggers. So there you go. And then I started vomiting a week later. Good times. But look, pregnancy is a wonderful time. It's a great opportunity to stop and have a look and see how you can do better with your health. But at the same time, I just want to encourage you that if you are struggling with morning sickness or, finding it difficult to change your habits, is to keep your expectations really low. Be kind, do one change at a time, be really, really gentle, take the pressure off yourself. The last thing you need is stress and anxiety around food. This is going to be just as detrimental to you and baby as a poor diet is. So just take it easy, take it slow. If you need help and support, definitely go and get it from a qualified individuals. Otherwise, team, grow that baby, be super proud of yourself, and we will see you in the next episode.